Hi, I'm Guy Smith and I'm the prospective Green Party candidate for Llanelli.
If elected, will you be pushing your own agenda, ideas and philosophy within your role as elected representative, probably in line with the Green Party principles naturally? Or will you be working to establish what a majority of your constituents desire, Green Party or not, on any given issue when bringing this to the wider democratic model?
Well, if elected, hopefully a majority would want an integrated nationalised transport and rail network. They'd want a phasing out of fossil fuels and instead focus on renewables, change in monetary creation away from private banks to a national monetary authority. But the needs of the people are paramount. The first thing I'd want to do, if elected, would be to open up a shop in Llanelli, an office, a shop, turn it into a community resource where people could come and discuss their worries, their concerns, their needs. I think that's really important. If I was elected to serve the community, that's what I'd be doing. Possibly we might even get offices in Kidwelly, Buryport, Tumble, Pontebellum, but I'd make sure that there was always someone there that would be able to listen to the needs and the views of the people in the constituency.
What are your thoughts about health and social care generally?
Health and social care. Well, the NHS is a fantastic organisation, the backbone of society, I think. But there are problems there. It's been kind of taken over by drugs companies a bit. And we do need a more holistic approach, more community focused, if you like. Education, health and nutrition. We need to encourage activity and feeling of worth. Get in care homes, for instance, if allotments were available, they don't have to be little allotments. It's amazing what you can grow in a couple of metres of ground. And I'm thinking of recently I saw a documentary of a little town in Italy where the people live well into their 90s, they grow their own veg, it's organic, they feel happy, they even drink wine, but and that they feel empowered. Just because you're getting old, you're infirm, doesn't mean to say you have no role in society. And I think so we need to change attitudes a bit. You could have morning yoga in the care homes, go for walks. Generally, yeah, we need a more holistic attitude. Although, I think that health service is fantastic.
And what would you do about cuts to social care budgets specifically?
Social care budgets. Well, I would oppose them because I think you've got to take money out of the equation. I think you've got to provide a need where it is needed. If people need looking after, then they should be looked after. There's all kinds of ways of doing that. We've got to take away a selfish attitude, encourage neighbours to look out for each other. I'd like to see ultimately more of a return to sort of more community values, really. And again, really, it's about taking money away from the equation, not having to balance the books all the time, because money's it's a nonsense anyway, really.
What are your views on gender inequality, specifically within the workplace, but also within wider UK society?
Well, I do think that great strides have been made over the years. Going back a few hundred years ago, women were very much second-class citizens. And of course we had the magnificent work campaigning done by the two Emilys, Davidson and Pankhurst, to get suffrage for women. It took a while. By the 30s, I think it was by the 30s, just about women and men had equal votes. And of course, in the Second World War, when the men were out fighting, women took on a lot of the jobs that traditionally men would have taken and did them incredibly well. Then going back to the 70s, when I first went to work, I walked into the bank on my own as a man in a machine room with women, intelligent women, and yet I was the one who was pushed forward, and I wasn't even that bothered, you know, and yet I was the one being the man. I had to become the assistant manager or the manager. It just felt wrong, and the women were actively held back. I didn't last long at the bank, as you can guess. But legislation has come in now, and in theory, women should be able to earn as much as as men. Legislation is there, but I'm not sure that attitudes have changed in line with this. A lot of men are afraid of women above them, if you like, as their bosses, and I think it's men have to be educated to not feel threatened by women so much.
If elected, what steps would you like to see implemented to minimise gender inequality, both in and out of the workplace?
Well, of course, since the madness of the austerity measures that have come up, all those great strides of the past have fallen back a bit, and women who tend to have more part-time workers particularly have suffered, I think. And what we need is to enforce legislation. I think we need to force the private firms to show their accounting, to state what their wages are, and so that we can enforce this.
Do you think that revenue spent on drug law enforcement yields good value for money to the taxpayer, and why?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Law enforcement devours millions of pounds, sends thousands of people to prison, whilst criminal gangs are just flourishing. The money could be better spent on prevention, research, education. I think it's important that people are able to choose their lifestyle. Psychoactive drugs have been used ever since people got up and walked. Prohibition does not stop use. It can be more harmful than the effects of the drugs itself. There's no quality control. Of course, you've got nowadays legal highs coming in. They're changing molecular structure of drugs. People don't know what they're taking. And what is a drug anyway? Alcohol, tobacco, coffee are often more addictive than some of the drugs that have been prohibited. And then you've got, again, the pharmaceutical companies who, with their prescription drugs, that more people are addicted to prescription drugs than the illegal drugs. You've also got drug testing in the workplace, which is just a shocking affront to human dignity, and just shouldn't be allowed at all.